They're waiting for Sora. He's the only one who can put an end to their hurt. Diz told me he hid something inside you during the year you were asleep. I asked him what, and all he would say was that he was clearing his conscience. Sora must be the key to saving the people you saw, and the ones you're about to see.
It can't be.
Maybe you know how much they're hurting. These three were keys too. They were connected to the Keyblade's truth.
Nickelodeon, one of the main networks for watching some of our favorite childhood cartoons and TV shows. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but talking about crossovers, Nickelodeon cartoons don't really have that happen very often in the cartoons themselves. The most popular one is the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour trilogy, but outside of that, most of them are from the live action shows and other media. Enter video games, where Nickelodeon cartoon crossovers occur way more often, with the Nicktoon games being the most notable. However, I won't be talking about those old bags of bones for today. Instead, there's a new Nickelodeon platform fighter on the block. This game generated a lot of hype building up to its release, given that it's developed by Ludosity, the same team that made Slap City, and the last time a cartoon platform fighter was made was for Cartoon Network. Let's just say that that game is memorable. Anyways, this game had a rather unfortunate release timing because the reveal for Smash Ultimate's final DLC character was shown on the day this game dropped. And listen, I have done so much for Kingdom Hearts. The only way I'm missing out on Sora in Smash Bros. Is if someone kills me. With that, this game has a chance of being dead very shortly after arrival. So today, I'll be looking at Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl to see if it can survive the coming weeks, / months, / whatever period of time after that. Going into this, I didn't expect any kind of story mode, and that's pretty much exactly what we got. The closest thing to that is an arcade mode where you do 7 battles against other characters on random stages. And there are intros to them, but they're just a bunch of randomly selected quotes that are references to things that the characters have said in their shows. However, they have no meaning towards the character you're fighting, which I would have enjoyed a little bit. I mean, you went out of your way for the text boxes. A little bit of interaction between two characters would have been nice. It's not much, which is what I expected, but this arcade mode kinda just feels there to fill a checkbox and nothing more. I'll start off with the thing people talk about the most, that being the art style. I don't mind it as much as other people, though there are some weird inconsistencies in the quality. Like, SpongeBob, CatDog, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles look great. Then there's Danny Phantom, Nigel, and Ren and Stimpy that look weird. Granted, Ren and Stimpy have always looked kinda weird. The others I'll also let slide because Danny has always been like this in 3D, and unless we get Fighter's level of art style, that will never be different. And I expected a similar case with Nigel. 2D characters going into 3D don't always translate well. However, the biggest issue I have with the characters is that there are no alternate colors. I don't think I've ever played a platform fighter that didn't have alternate colors. From what I'm hearing, that won't be the case for too long in the form of costume changes, but it just feels wrong that there's no form of alternate colors at launch. This also makes Dittos a lot more difficult because they can end up being harder to tell which one you are. If it weren't for the on-screen names, this would be an even worse problem, and really it's the only saving grace for the base game colors. The stages though are probably the best looking thing about the game. They all have good lighting and color and are very good representations of the areas from the shows. And as far as I noticed, there aren't any weird inconsistencies like the character models. Outside of that though, I don't get much of a Nickelodeon vibe from the menus. Really the only Nickelodeon thing about them is the transitions being the famous green slime splatting on the screen. Other than that, everything else feels normal? I'm not sure if that's the best way to put it honestly, but I don't really know any other way to put it, so normal. Something I do like though is the victory screen and how it more resembles the older Smash games. It's been a good minute since the results screen for a platform fighter was like this, and I don't mind it. The music for said stages is also really good. I actually feel like the soundtrack is a pretty underrated part of the game. And then there's Glove World. Glove World's song is my least favorite song in the entire game and it's not even a contest. But aside from Glove World, seriously take a listen to this game's soundtrack. It's probably one of the best parts about this entire game. Now, for the other thing that people address a lot, that being the lack of voice acting outside of the announcer. Admittedly, the lack of voice acting does make matches feel empty at times, especially given that these are Nickelodeon characters and none of them talking is off-putting. But I'm willing to give them a bit of slack because the development team isn't exactly big and voice acting takes a lot of money. Plus, some people have actually modded in voice acting and it's actually kind of annoying given how often said voice lines appear. In terms of officially put in voice acting, it might be added in later, but regardless, I don't mind the fact that there's not any voice acting in the game. And if voice acting does officially get put into the game, hopefully it's good. Before a match, you choose what game mode to play as well as one of 20 Nickelodeon characters and a stage to fight on. A majority of the game's goals involve you knocking your opponent off screen by using a combination of 3 light, strong, and special attacks to rack up damage. The higher their damage, the higher their knockback when hit will be, which in turn makes it easier for them to get knocked off screen. There are also grabs and 2 different dash attacks which can be used for the same purpose. To combat most of these, you are able to shield against most attacks. Additionally, there are some unique differences about this game compared to other platform fighters. For starters, everyone is able to grab in the air as well as move around while holding someone. However, you do lose the ability to double jump during this. Secondly, dash attacks on hit are cancelable into anything. Third, shielding is indefinite and instead you take knockback. If you are knocked towards a ledge, you enter teeter state. During this state, you are completely vulnerable to any attack for a short amount of time. You can try to avoid this by reducing your knockback or by parrying attacks, which usually gives you a chance to attack your opponent. Lastly, there is air dashing. This is not invincible like most other platform fighters, but you are able to act out of it immediately. Now, for the game modes. There's the offline modes, which consists of arcade, which I already explained earlier, sports, which involves getting some form of ball through these star-shaped goals, and training where you can practice fighting techniques. There's also stock, where the last person with lives wins, and time, where you have a certain amount of time to knock out others as much as possible. But this also applies to the online modes. In casual, you can play on whatever stages, but for ranked, you can only play on certain stages deemed legal for competitive play. There's also lobbies that you can create, join, and invite people to. Honestly, this game feels very similar to Rivals of Aether, which is a game I really enjoy and I'd like more people to play it. But anyways, we're back to talking about All-Star Brawl. The overall speed of the game is fast. In fact, it's one of the fastest platform fighters I've played, but personally, that plays to this game's strengths. It keeps a constant pace where you have to act using the multiple unique game mechanics at a moment's notice while predicting or considering your opponent's options and what they are likely to do. Said mechanics, mostly being unique to this game, are really cool and are used incredibly often throughout matches. My favorite mechanic, without a doubt, is the air dash. It's probably the most useful ability in the entire game, as it can be used as an additional jump, as a way to quickly approach or disengage via wave dashing, as an extender for combos and pressure, as a fake out to bait opponents, and in combination with a jump, it can help you survive longer by completely changing the direction you go after getting sent flying, so you can hopefully recover. It's an incredibly versatile and vital part of the game. Dash attacks being cancelable into anything on hit is awesome. Not only does it help with getting kills using strong attacks afterwards, but it can open up special combo routes or tech chase situations that otherwise aren't possible. Plus, being able to do this off of projectiles adds another layer of fake outs and setups depending on the character. It's also stupidly satisfying hitting this kind of stuff. Speaking of the projectiles, the ability to reflect them with any strong attack and grab them, as well as grabs being cargo throws and available in the air being a universal thing, is honestly refreshing in a way I never thought would be. That's not to say everyone having separate mechanics is a bad thing, but this kind of stuff again has unique opportunities that most other platform fighters don't have, giving some speciality about it. Another case of this is Teeter. In this game, more than any other, I've been a lot more cautious about shooting at ledge because it can be the very difference between life and death. Also, whenever someone enters teeter, I have a really toxic thought of "Neener, neener, you entered teeter" right before forward smashing them. Anyways, the biggest thing about this game from a competitive standpoint is that the developers are actively supporting it from the get-go. They are consistently looking at people playing this game and updating things accordingly. As of currently, a Sandy Infinite was discovered and then patched out, Lincoln had an Infinite that was patched out before the game even came out, and recently a tournament at SmashCon got rule sets banning Infinites as well as Michelangelo because he was just that strong of a character at the time, and some patches will more than likely be made to keep stuff like this from being an issue because, boy, this game has a lot of jank. Might I also point out that this game is also supported financially by Nickelodeon themselves. Smash Brothers, being the pioneer of platform fighters, rarely ever gets treatment like this so fast, and never to this extent. Of course, there's differences in team size and scheduling and company policies and stuff that I'm not going to pretend that I know much about, but having this kind of treatment at all for the platformer fighting game genre is nice. That being said, this game has two glaring competitive issues. For one, this game has by far the worst training mode I've ever seen. This is going off of fighting games in general, not even just platform fighter standards, which already are typically worse in comparison. I wouldn't even be that harsh about it if this game wasn't designed around a competitive mindset, but since it is, this training mode is hot garbage for today's standards. It doesn't have some stuff from 20 years ago, and I'm not even kind of exaggerating. There's no consecutive hit counter, you can't change the game speed slightly, your only option is to go frame by frame, you can't set the CPU to do a particular action, there's not even a reset function. How on earth does any fighting game designed to be competitive not have a reset function in its training mode at launch? Smash 64, the originator of the entire platform fighter genre, meant for a casual experience, had all of these previous things in 1999. Not only are you incredibly limited in what you are able to practice, the stuff you can practice can be inconsistent and repetitive to set up each time. On top of that, so much stuff that other platform fighters have done is just not a thing in this game. It is not 2001, it is 2021. Other platform fighters in that time have made far better training modes that should honestly be the bare minimum at this point for competitive play. The Smash Melee community made a mod for all of the competitive techniques earlier this year for a game that's 20 years old. Rivals of Aether had DI drifting and line display, among other things, before Smash Ultimate did back in 2015. Brawlhalla had the ability for CPUs to react out of hit stun randomly along with automatic damage and position reset in 2014. PlayStation All-Stars had combo trials. Combo trials for a platform fighter in 2012. I should not be giving PlayStation All-Stars credit for this. Give this game's training mode the basic necessities for competitive play so it has more to offer than hitboxes, something other games have done as well. Another thing is the control scheme. You're able to customize controls, but this game has the most limiting custom controls I've ever seen in a platform fighter. You can't assign multiple buttons to a single action, and there's no tap jump. Personally, this isn't an issue for me because I hate using tap jump and typically I'll be using one action per button anyways, but I know a lot of other people where that is not the case, and it can even be a huge deal breaker for them. This can be the case with other genres, but in a fighting game, you can have all the mechanics you want, but if someone doesn't like the default controls and you can't change it to where they are comfortable, they won't play it. And the crazy thing about this is that both of these problems, Slap City, which I want to restate, these same developers made, did not have as big of a problem. I mean, the training modes of other games are still better, but it at least had DI shifting, and the control mapping was pretty much perfect. Why did that stuff not transfer over to here? Can I just say that some decisions for the base roster are very weird? I know it'll get bigger over the game's lifespan, but still. Two of what I feel are the biggest picks being Timmy Turner and Jimmy Neutron aren't in. Helga is in, but not Arnold, who the show was literally named after. And you can only play as two of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That should be a crime no matter what the game. Strafing is an okay mechanic. I feel like it made less of an impact for me than I initially thought it would. I don't find myself using it, but I don't mind it existing. I'm sure some top players will find more use for it than me. Outside of the online and local battles, there's not a lot of extra content. Really, all that's there are the sports game modes, which could be fun with friends, and the arcade mode, which is really only there for unlocking a few extra stuff that most people watching this won't care about that much. I'd rag on this more, but as I said earlier, this game was made for a competitive fan base. And let's be honest, how many of you watching who play Smash Bros. Competitively goes through the single player content religiously? I didn't expect any extra stuff going into this, so I'm not upset at it. Maybe for the more casual players of the game, it'd be nice, but I kinda doubt that more stuff will be put towards it. Now, the online uses rollback netcode, which essentially makes it feel like you're offline, which is fantastic in a genre that needs precise inputs at all times. The only problem is that when it's working, the experience is great, but when it isn't, oh boy. What sucks is that this whole teleporting issue is one-sided, meaning the other person has no idea that you're immensely suffering unless you're both in a Discord call or something.
What?
Let's go, Mikey.
Bro, I didn't even get hit on my screen, roll back into me getting stage spiked.
Oh, yikes. It's unfortunate, but honestly, I think if this game didn't have rollback, it wouldn't hold as much of its current viewership. This game needs time and faith. Is there stuff that can be improved? Oh, definitely. Training mode is terrible and the control scheme can keep people from playing altogether. At the same time though, are there certain things about it that are good or even perfectly fine? Yes. To me, the gameplay mechanics are done very well, the music is great, and the attention to the competitive scene along with updates are very nice. Situations like this are similar to any fighting game. Look at Street Fighter V. When that game launched, it was a laughingstock for a good while, but it came around strong with updates improving the game overall. And it's clear that this game can have a similar case, because the developers are very passionate about this game. Because otherwise, they would not pay as much attention to the competitive scene as they are, even to the point of co-commentating some tournaments. Over time, more characters, stages, music, etc. will be added to give a better polish, but at the same time, as someone who has played a fair amount of platform fighters and isn't sponsored by Nickelodeon, convincing people to get this game for $50 when there are other platform fighters that have more to offer for slightly more or way less than that price is unfortunately difficult. I enjoy the game, but I can't justify just anyone getting it for $50. But hopefully, one day I will be able to justify that price tag. What's going on, my fellow residents? It's me, TheFrozenCavern, and thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. This video definitely took longer to come out because of Sora, and honestly no other reason. Because I knew for a fact, even before Sora was announced, that I would not have been able to get this video out by the time that the character released. And the final Smash DLC character being Sora only delayed that even further. But again, I do want this game to succeed. I don't want it to flop. Because it's not very often that you get this kind of support from developers for this kind of competitive play. And this game just going up in smoke might just make that entire concept just disappear for a couple of years. If you have faith in this game, then that's perfectly fine. If you don't have faith in this game or you don't like playing it, that's also perfectly fine. Just be willing to choose something and say whether you like it or not. But aside from that, make sure you guys go down to the description below because that's where all of my social medias are located. My Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord are all in the description, and they are all ways for you guys to be notified of whenever I upload another video or have an update for the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more, as well as share this video out with your friends and family. But until the next video, take care.